It is that time, a quarter season review for the New York Knicks, why Mike Brown is the single most encouraging part of this first quarter of the season.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked on to the New York Knicks. My name is Gavin Schall. I am a New York City native and a credentialed media member that's been covering the team for a decade. He is XJ. He is the co-host of the fantastic Hot Hand Theory podcast. I don't want to shortchange him. He is also from New York. If that means anything to you guys, I don't know. This is Locked On Knicks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And now the number one sports podcast network in the world. That's cool. And this is your daily podcast on the Knicks, giving you the most detailed insight on your favorite team at least 5 days a week. Last week we went 6. And that's why you should join thousands of other Knicks fans in subscribing both YouTube and your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode and you can join the ranks of everydayers. It also really helps us grow the show, and we greatly appreciate it. But today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. XJ, we've been wanting to do this for a while. I think mathematically we were a few games late. Spiritually, though, we're right on time. It is a quarter season review. We're going to talk about what we're most encouraged about on this team, what we're most discouraged about, and depending on how much time we have left, a few big questions, including if they ultimately need to make a trade. But we're both, I think, fairly positive people about this team. Let's start off with what we're most encouraged about. And you surprised me a little bit before the show because I'm like, oh, well, it's going to be Deuce McBride. And you were like, no, it's actually not Deuce McBride. There's something that I found even more encouraging in the early season for this team.
It is surprising to you and to our audience and to anybody who's heard me speak over the last 2 years that it's not Deuce McBride. It is Mike Brown. It is Mike Brown that I am most encouraged by this season so far. Mike Brown has done basically nearly everything I've wanted to see from a new coach coming in to coach this team and to push this team not only into, Eastern Conference semifinals, finals contention, but for title finals and title contention in a very realistic way. And although we've seen really excellent results, and we'll get into the specific results that we've seen so far this season, we've seen a ton of excellent results and outcomes, but that's not really what's been encouraging to me. It's been the process. Everybody knows at this point, if you've heard our pod before, I'm a process-oriented kind of person. And to me, what's most important is seeing experimentation with lineups, different rotations, different guys getting different minutes, seeing the way that he's trying to use guys offensively in different ways, attack in different ways, different defensive schemes. We've seen zone defenses, something that we've almost never seen over the past 5 seasons. We've seen the Knicks be in situations where they're losing a game and him not panic and go back to the starters, but stick with who's out there, continue to play guys like Tyler Kolek, despite, maybe losing a game here or there. And all of those things are super encouraging because they are more long-term indicators of success than they are short-term indicators of success. And I'll trade 10, 15, 20 wins in the regular season for a 10, 15, 20% increased chance at winning a title. I'll easily do that. I'll do that every day. And it seems like Mike Brown agrees with that. And that has been the most encouraging thing possible. Is he a perfect coach? No. Does he make every decision the same way I would make? No. Are there things that have happened that I don't necessarily agree with as far as like decisions and things like that? Of course, that's going to happen every season with a coach. And I think that because of some feedback that I've had, maybe that you've had, Gavin, on Tibbs and his tenure, it sort of feels like it's like, well, we know more than coaches and we can tell you and you should listen to us and the coaches don't know what they're doing. And I've never felt that way. What I feel like is there are certain decisions from a game theory perspective, from a strategic perspective, that you can easily say, we need to do this, and this is going to increase our chances of winning long-term, or it's going to increase our chances of winning now. And a lot of times those decisions are at odds with one another. And if you're continually choosing the right now over the long-term, I am not going to be a fan of yours. If you're continually choosing the long-term instead of the right now, and the team has a chance to win a title like I believe it does, and I think that you believe it does, then I'm going to be a fan of yours. And that's what's been most encouraging to me from Mike Brown this season.
Yeah, you summed up my thoughts beautifully. Like he's not playing for a 1 seed. He's not coaching for a 1 seed. He's coaching for a championship. Is what it has felt like consistently. There are times like I would almost want him to lean even a little bit further in that direction. Particularly, maybe this is skipping ahead to my discourage, like trying again to see what you have in someone like Pacom Dadier. But I think Ariel Hukporti is like a great example of like why we should trust that if a guy is even vaguely ready, Mike Brown is going to give them a chance. And like he played, he started him the very first game of the season, and then played him like quite a bit since that time. Over the next ensuing like 4 or 5 games, didn't think he looked good enough. I would agree with that. Like he really struggled. I think it was that early loss to the Heat in particular. Benched him for a while and then said, you know what? He's looked good in practice. I'm not just benching that guy for the rest of the year because he didn't do exactly what I hoped for in the first couple games. I'm going to circle back. I'm going to go back to him. He hasn't started Deuce. Well, he has when there have been injuries, but he's like selectively started him. I feel like when he's on the court, Deuce is highlighted and a priority in a way that he wasn't always under Tom Thibodeau. And that stuff is subtle. Like that's not even meant to really be a shot at Tibbs. Like this might be the first year Deuce is totally warranted that in terms of his style of play, but just some of the stuff. And maybe this is just like concepts that lean into what he's good at. Yeah, when they played the Jazz over the weekend, like Deuce had this play where he zipped a pass cross court to, I don't remember who. I want to say it was like Josh Hart or someone, and like sprinted, got it back on a toss, and like fired a 3. And it was such like a Steph Curry-ish type of action. And that was like, again, like not that like tons of teams run stuff like that for those shooters. Like it's relatively simple, but just conceptually, like the stuff that Mike Brown and the instincts he started baking into this team are really, really like the same inclinations that I would have about them. And I think it's showing in that like the volume of 3-point shots they're getting up, how well they're shooting. Like they're finding easier threes, right? They're the 5th best 3-point shooting team in the league by percentage after being like I can't remember where they finished last year, but I feel like they were not that high and were fairly up and down. He's adjusted well. Like when OG Anunoby got hurt and missed a third of the season, they're still somehow like 13th in defense on the season. And my curiosity with him going forward, and this is like maybe not encouraged or discouraged, but just neutral, is like I'm fascinated to see like where the balance strikes out between what I believe his intended style of play is and Tibbs ball, because I think we've settled into a place that's somewhere in the middle, and the pace has been there, but kind of in fits and spurts. They're only one spot higher in fast break points than they were all of last season. And at times it still feels like watching last year's offense, and the dribble handoffs have dissipated a little bit since they were at such a high volume early in the season. So I'm really intrigued to see like where that battle goes. But overall, like I would give him somewhere along an A minus so far this season. Like he's like gone far beyond my hopes and dreams when they first hired him.
I totally agree with that. And I agree with you as well about sort of feeling like there's been a little bit of like this balance between Mike Brown's desired style and the way that the Knicks played in previous seasons. And sometimes it does feel like watching last year's offense, and that's not been ideal. But I will say, as far as what we've seen so far and in the realm of reasonable expectations, obviously right now, as we're recording this, they're 3rd in net differential. They're 2nd in offensive rating, 13th in defensive rating. You mentioned OG missing time. OG, Mitch, and Landry Shamet have each missed a quarter of the season, a quarter of the games that the Knicks have played so far. Mitch hasn't really been fully healthy at any point. Again, like I mentioned, Brown's experimented with numerous different rotations, lineups. They're still not fully like tuned up on the offensive style that they want to play. So ostensibly, this could obviously get better if they were to really, really integrate that deeply and have all of their guys super healthy. They're 2nd in the East, only 2.5 back of Detroit right now. They're 13-1 at home. I posted about this on Twitter. How could this have reasonably gone better? I genuinely, and this is a real question. This is not a rhetorical question. I'm going to ask Gavin in a second, but our audience, whoever's listening, can you post a comment with your thoughts? Like, do you agree with me, or do you feel like, man, no, this could have gone better? Like, reasonably speaking, of course, they could be the Oklahoma City Thunder. They could be 22-1 and just be unstoppable, lead dominant, and you know, the foregone conclusion they're going to win the title. Yes, that's in the realm of like possibility. But realistically, how could things have gone better with a brand new coach right now? I don't see it. So yeah, Gavin, I'm curious your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I have I have one answer to that. I'm also going to add in two more players that have really encouraged me. One I've hated on a lot, so it might surprise you. We'll get into it in just a sec right here on Locked On Knicks. First, I want to tell you about our good friends over at FanDuel. NFL Sundays, they move fast. One big play and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so incredibly exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. Live betting is best when the game starts to shift, a receiver gets hot, a defense tightens up, or the momentum flips after a turnover. FanDuel lets you jump into those moments. Live spreads and money lines adjust instantly. Player props update as guys heat up. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, and every possibility. I would recommend the New York Giants have blown more 10-point leads than any team in NFL history. So if the Giants go up by 10, maybe that's the prop you want to play. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. All right, I want to address your question. I think that takes us directly into the discouraged category. So let me throw you two more encouraged before we move on. This one, I don't know if you're going to have anything to add to it, but I know you agree. Deuce McBride is the best he's ever been. And we'll see how long he's out with the left ankle injury. I saw just before we started recording, he's listed as day-to-day. So unless there was some other update that I missed, presumably not incredibly serious, which is fantastic news, because he's turned into from like a guy who for his career, and I've tried to drive this home to people, I would not have put in the elite shooter category, which it's so hard at his height to be in the elite shooter category. I would have put him in the very good shooter category. He's transformed seemingly, if this is real, and he's been on an insane heater lately. So take it with a grain of salt. 44% from three, 85th percentile points per shot attempt, which is by far a career high. He averages actually every time he takes a shot over 1.2 points per shot. That is ridiculous. That is incredible value. That is a guy I would go so far as to say you should put in your starting lineup. He's shooting 74% at the rim after 52% last year. Super small sample size, only 19 shots at the rim all season. That is like a good game for Giannis Antetokounmpo. That is a third of a season for Deuce McBride. So we'll see if that holds up. Seems like he's in the best shape of his career. The athletic ability is really translating. Hoping his steal percentage bounces back. That's the one area he's been struggling a little bit. And then I just wanted to note Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges real quick, because I think we've maybe started to settle in with this version of Mikal and taking it for granted, and he's cooled down a little bit. And there are still some nights where I feel like he is an afterthought in this offense a little. So if you want to go discouraging, that'd be my discouraging. My encouraging is that despite it, like he's still been way more efficient this year, 86th percentile in points per shot attempt after 72nd percentile last year, a little bit more rim volume. And it just feels like he is dramatically more comfortable. He's playing with a lot more joy than he did last season, which is a very big deal, both for him. And I think that like he is very much a barometer at times for the vibe of the entire team. And I think they're in a much better place when he's playing with a smile and playing fast and like letting out a primal roar after a dunk. That's all good. And then Josh Hart, like his shooting bouncing back has just been revelatory for this team. Like if you saw it in the Magic game, and granted they didn't have Franz, so they were a little limited compared to their normal capacity defensively. But Orlando over and over again was saying, hey, we don't really buy this last month, Josh Hart. We're daring you to shoot. And he hit 2 threes. He hit 3 off the dribble mid-range jumpers. Like I don't know if that continues. We've seen him have hot months before, and then we've seen him wilt at times. If that continues, like that is absolutely a ceiling raiser for the New York Knicks, and it could meaningfully like move the needle for them in the playoffs and in terms of like what starting lineup they can play. Discouraged. I'll just throw this out there and let you respond, because I've been talking for a while. But the only thing I'm somewhat not discouraged about, but the only way to answer your question, I feel like things could have gone a little bit better for the Knicks. Like I look a tiny bit at the first 2 games against the Orlando Magic and just generally how they've done. The issue is they haven't played a lot of good teams, right? They played the 5th easiest schedule in the NBA so far, but Orlando, I think, is the closest thing to a championship contender that they played, and they lost the first 2. And the third, like maybe you'll say I'm being too harsh here, but like I don't take as seriously because Franz wasn't on the court, and we're both in agreement. He's far and away their best player. I want to see them look how they've looked at their best against a great team, like we got against Denver last year. Like I haven't seen that level of play against an elite team. And it's mostly just that they haven't played a lot of elite teams, and that's going to be coming up. But I want to continue to see it. I thought like the Celtics game and the way the Celtics played them was like a test of that. And in spurts they succeeded, and in spurts they really struggled.
Yeah, those are really important points. I mean, firstly, I'll say for one of the Magic games, like the Magic without Franz, you got to take it with a grain of salt. The Knicks without OG Anunoby, you have to take it with a grain of salt.
Like Mitchell Robinson and Franz is not the formula you're going to get.
Yeah, exactly. Like if they have Franz and we have to resort to guarding him with Mitchell Robinson, that's probably not the game that's going to be reflective of the Knicks title championship potential in that situation. So I'd really just completely throw that out. And then so we're really left with one other game basically. And yeah, I didn't think that the Knicks played the best that they could have in that game. I think that they had a lot of trouble scoring. I don't think it was necessarily like, man, Orlando's like completely shut them down. The Knicks shot like 30% from three on that game, and couldn't make anything from above the break. I think it was like really, really bad from the corner, from the non-corners, like 15% from three or something. It was just like, and those games just happen. So I don't take anything away really, to be honest with you. Maybe that's aggressive on my end, but I don't take too much away from like individual losses to a particular team. I know we're trying to kind of like really, really see and feel like, okay, this is a championship contender. They had this big performance against, X great team, and that means something. Like, I don't really view things that way, especially early in the season. To me, it's all about like process and how they're like operating, what they're trying to do, the way that they're executing certain things, what they're trying to install in terms of a system from an offensive and defensive standpoint. Those are the things that matter more to me than whether they win individual games, even if they are against the Magic or whenever they play the Nuggets, the Rockets, the Thunder. I just won't pull away too much from that, but I understand that reasoning. I wouldn't discount it. So do you want to respond to that before I go ahead with the discouraging?
No. All I was going to say, like, I'm really, as we talk it through, it's like, like, I think I'm glomming on just because we don't have a lot of opportunities yet. Like, I just kind of want to see it. And some of it is just my frustration with their schedule. Like, it feels like a college football team that like it is a home fan when they play in the Big 12 and they just play cupcakes the first 5 games of the year. And like, great, they're winning 70-0 every game. Like, I haven't learned anything yet. So I want to see them play a bunch of good teams in a row, and we really are not going to get that until after the All-Star break, but we'll get, and maybe the cup is an opportunity for it, so we'll see.
Yeah, I think that's a totally reasonable, valid perspective. To me, we haven't seen it, so I'm not going to like judge it one way or another. And yeah, once they play several good teams in a row, then we'll get a lot more information, and hopefully there'll be a different team at that point in time too. And then as far as like things that have been discouraging to me, I wouldn't say they've been discouraging, because to be honest, there's not a lot that I feel discouraged about. But I will say, again, maybe being a little too much of a, I don't know, pedantic in a way. On principle, I don't react very much to like shooting stretches. So Josh Hart's had a hot shooting stretch. Deuce McBride's had a hot shooting stretch. To me, those both don't mean very much at all. And I'm not being biased because Deuce McBride's obviously one of my favorite players on the Knicks.
I thought you were going to say, it's real. It matters for Deuce, not for Deuce.
Totally buy Deuce shooting like 65% over like 10 games. Do not buy Josh Hart shooting 43%. No. So I just don't really. So I wouldn't even characterize Deuce's play as improvement yet to me. Like to me, he's still the same player right now. And until we see a stretch that's more like months than weeks, I will not put very much, if any, stock in shooting stretches, just as a rule of thumb. So I would say from that standpoint, my last quick thing is just like, I guess I'm a little discouraged by Mitchell Robinson's health, to be honest with you. Like, I would have liked to see him be able to play more minutes and, more games consecutively. Obviously, this most recent game, he's looked the best he's looked in terms of, I think he played his season high in minutes. I'm not sure, but I think he played his season high in minutes and he looked really good. And so that's super encouraging. But just if there was one thing, it's going to be that. And that may lead to some other part of our conversation when we talk about potential moves down the line. But that's the one thing for me.
I can't confirm it was his season high in minutes, so good note by you. And that is also my number one discouraged. I have more thoughts on it. I have a couple more small ones I want to throw your way and see what you think. We'll talk about it in just a sec right here on Locked On Knicks. But first, we want to tell you about our friends over at Mint Mobile. You know, there's no reason at all to let big wireless drain your wallet, especially during the holidays. Right now, Mint Mobile is running their best deal of the year. All of their unlimited plans are 50% off. That means you can lock in 3, 6, or even 12 months of unlimited premium wireless for just $15 a month. It's the easiest way to take your overpriced phone bill and give it the full Scrooge treatment. And what makes this even better is how simple Mint makes the switch. No contracts, no nonsense, just real saving and real quality service. Switching to Mint lets you keep your same coverage for a lower price. Setup takes only a few minutes. You can bring your own phone number. You can bring over your own phone number without any issues. The service is fast and super reliable, even on the go. So turn your expensive wireless present into a huge wireless savings future by switching to Mint. Shop Mint Unlimited plans at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Limited time offer, upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Required $15 a month equivalent. Taxes and fees, initial plan term only. Over 35 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. Capable device required. Availability, speed, and coverage varies. See mintmobile.com. All right, so let's talk Mitchell Robinson for a second, because that has probably been, I'll say it's been the single most discouraging aspect of the season for me. Like, I didn't talk about this a ton preseason, but I was harboring some hopes that we were going to get start of 23-24 Mitchell Robinson, and maybe not rebounding wise, but rebounding wise, like what he did in the playoffs last year was just like a new level. Even at the historical rates he rebounded on the offensive end of the floor in the past. But defensively, like, I thought he was good by his standards, maybe not like apex Mitchell Robinson in the playoffs last year. My thinking was like, all right, last season he had 25 games to ramp up. Now for the first time, seemingly in years, just 2 years, I guess, like he had a full off season to be healthy, to eat off his own farm, do some country stuff, put together a mixtape of him like scrubbing high school students in suburban Louisiana. And like he could do like everything he needed to feel at his Mitchell Robinson best, right? Call Mark Berman, call him a bus driver, like whatever he needs to do psychologically to get there. Because the guy we saw at the start of 23-24, I will argue till the end of my days, was a legitimate defensive player of the year candidate. Like he was incredible to start that season on the defensive end. And now I'm kind of left here thinking, like, I don't know if that guy exists anymore. And that version of Mitchell Robinson to me was potentially essential for the Knicks winning a championship. I think I don't think we diverge from each other. I think we maybe diverge from consensus in terms of like they need to lean into Cat as the 5 to hit their highest ceiling. I think even in a world where Mitch is only playing 18 minutes a game, 20 minutes a game in the NBA Finals, the idea that you could have elite defense for every minute he's on the floor, to me, was a game changer. Now that that's not a guarantee, I do think it potentially meaningfully lowers their ceiling. Though, to your point, I think he looked about as active and moved about as well. A couple of different dunks against the Orlando Magic. Like, if he continued block the 3-pointer, which is always a good barometer for where he's at athletically, like if that continues to sustain, I will be pretty encouraged going forward. To wrap up my discourage, like, I don't know how much more I had. Like, I didn't have incredibly high expectations for Jordan Clarkson, but I think the combination of like how his play has turned sour a little bit over the last 7-8 games, combined with Malcolm Brogdon retiring, like I was really excited for the Knicks to have like legitimate playmaking in their backup point guards. And as I said before the season, like Brogdon's numbers in terms of his assist rate, his ability to finish at the rim on decent volume were still very high last season. Clarkson had also like a pretty good assist rate for a combo guard when he was on the floor. And I feel like we haven't quite gotten that, obviously not from Brogdon or from Clarkson. Like, I do think they still lack for ball handling. And that's not a surprise. That's why it's not wildly discouraging, but it is something that hurts you against a team like Oklahoma City, potentially against an Orlando or Detroit. I think it could really muck things up for them offensively. My other discourage, and this one's kind of balanced, but I'm slightly discouraged by how good the rest of the Eastern Conference look. Like, the Pistons are just quite a bit better than I thought they were. And maybe that's dumb because they're pretty much playing how they played the second half of last season with like Jalen Duren making a leap. I think Orlando, when Franz is healthy, is freaking terrifying. Like you look at the sample sizes of their starting 5 together, and it's still small, but they've just put out like some of the better 5-man groupings in the entire NBA early this year. Like, that's a team I think could potentially give New York a lot of trouble. I think we both agree Paolo is still a weakness in that. And then I would even throw like Boston if somehow like Tatum is 90% of himself. A little scary. I still think the Knicks are better. That might be offset by Cleveland, I think, looking quite poor so far this season, and maybe that's your take on it. I've been ranting and raving a long time. Does any of that stick with you at all?
All of it sticks with me, Gavin. How am I supposed to, like, you named like 15 things that I want to talk about?
Well, we were saying I was dumb. I said this could be a 1-part podcast. This is probably it's a 2-hour podcast. It's going to be masquerading. It's a 32-minute podcast when you work your editing magic on it.
That's exactly what's going to happen, but it's all good. I can just quickly touch on a few of the things that you said, which I thought were all super insightful as usual. On the Clarkson thing, yes, Clarkson is dropped off hard of late, but I will say, just like I don't put a lot of stock in hot shooting stretches, I don't put a lot of stock in cold shooting stretches either. So it works both ways for me. A lot of the reason he's dropped off has been his shooting. It's just been terrible. He's 6 for his last 37 from 3, including 5 of 28 on catch and shoot threes. That is not good. 5 of 28 is absurdly bad. It's about 18% on catch and shoot threes. But something in what I said somehow is good, which is that I said he's taken 37 threes and 28 of them have been catch and shoot threes. That is encouraging for Jordan Clarkson. He's barely taking pull-up threes right now. And so I believe he has not just forgotten how to shoot. Just like I don't believe Josh Hart has, become an elite shooter and Deuce McBride has become the best shooter of all time. I don't think any of those 3 things is true. So I expect some regression to happen for all of those players. And that's a positive thing. I know you were mentioning some about getting to the rim and other things with him, but I think he's been good at getting to the rim.
Hard of my point on Clarkson, which some of this is just that he has the ball in his hands way less, so I don't know how much to read into it. His assist percentage is like half of what it was the previous 2 seasons. It's 12.5%. To me, like and maybe this is stupid because Jordan Clarkson, you don't think passing. What I was most encouraged about with him was like this is a guy when he's on the floor with Jalen Brunson that Jalen can play off ball and get him easy shots. And I did a poor job phrasing that. I think the first time around, he got him a 3 actually last game, but that hasn't happened as much as I want. And there have been stretches where it's happened. Like if he leans more into that as the season goes along, but I just think the Knicks need someone else who can create a shot. And like, I don't know who that is consistently by committee. They kind of do enough, but that's like sort of at the heart of like when they play better teams, what I'm worried about a little bit.
And that's totally fair. I think that where we actually diverge is that I don't think the Knicks need that. And I never have really felt that way. And I really don't even see Clarkson as that option. And so if you were hoping for that, then, and I know you were, and I know Brogdon's retirement hurt you, that would have been the guy to do that, not Clarkson for me. Clarkson to me is a guy who I need him to play off ball and catch and shoot and catch and finish and attack closeouts. I don't need him like creating offense for me at this stage in his career. And so, and I think I just personally think the Knicks have enough between the systemic improvements that they're making to their offensive approach, between what Karl-Anthony Towns can do. And it's just more of like the system is the offensive generation, is the initiator as opposed to any individual player. And so that's what I think of the team. We'll see if that's true or not as things move forward. But yes, I totally hear what you're saying. I will say this on Mitchell Robinson. I do want to kind of go back to that. I think that I totally agree with you. I think that the team doesn't have a title ceiling without a healthy Mitchell Robinson. I think you need a healthy Mitchell Robinson to win the championship. I think that you need to be able to match up with different teams, and Mitchell Robinson is the ultimate matchup nightmare for particular teams. And when you have to go through those teams and you throw Mitchell Robinson out there, we've seen with the Boston Celtics and the Cleveland Cavaliers. This guy completely makes coaches not know what to do. They go like, "What do we got to do? We don't know what to do." This guy's just terrorizing. Jared Allen,
right.
Joe Mazzulla has talked about. It's just like the coaches have a plan in place, and he tears it up with the way that he plays. And so I think just having that gives you so many more advantages as you go through 4 or 5 playoff series on your way to winning a championship. And not having that doesn't make it makes your chances of winning a title much, much, much lower. So you need a healthy Mitchell Robinson. Unless, Eric Hukporti makes some huge leap, and maybe we've seen the beginning of that potentially, who knows? But I just don't think you're winning a championship without a high level Mitch. And so if I'm saying that, then basically what I'm saying is you need a fully healthy Mitch to last through several playoff series all the way through the postseason. So he needs to get there healthy and then make it through there healthy. I don't know about you, but I don't feel like that's very likely at this point in time. So basically what I would be saying is if you kind of add all that together, the Knicks have an unlikely opportunity to win a championship if that's the case, if what I'm saying is true. So to me, when we're talking about, and I know you didn't even mention this, but I want to bring it up. When you talk about making a move, I think you have to make a move for a 5. I think you do. I think you need a center because you have to mitigate the risk that Mitchell Robinson is not healthy, does not make it through a postseason run on the way to winning a championship. And I am not banking my potential chances on win a title this year with this team, with this coach, and have everything going for me with the Eastern Conference, although being better than advertised, still not being one of the strongest conferences that we've seen in a long time. I'm not banking it on saying, yeah, all that is going to be contingent on Mitchell Robinson being healthy. I'm not doing it. So I'm making a move for a 5.
Yeah, I'm just going to throw one name out there, and I don't really think the Knicks have the assets to do it without giving up a key part of their rotation. If there was any universe where they could get Ivica Zubac, and maybe that doesn't make sense because he was was he an all-star last year? He should have been an all-star last year.
He's so good, dude. He's so good.
He's way overqualified to be the Knicks 20 minute a game backup 5. Not that him and Cat could play together and that would be interesting. I don't know if that's the best way to use the two of them because him can he defend in space? I'll let you tell me, but he's only making $18 million. The Clippers got him on such a steal of a contract, Mitch plus Clarkson, almost, and one of the young guys gets you there. Again, I don't know why the Knicks, I think, have won. They have the Wizards pick, and I don't even think they can trade a future first round pick this year. So I don't really know how they would get that done. That's the highest end version of type of guy they can get. But I would just feel so much more comfortable about this team. I mean, the guy I'm really describing, unfortunately, is Isaiah Hartenstein.
Oh no!
Due to cap machination, they have his German twin in Ariel Hukport, who's not quite that good yet. But man, they're a more reliable version of Mitch would just be a game changer. And there's maybe a whole episode to be done by us next week on who that guy is and how they can go and get him. But I am 100% with you. I just when I think about this team and I get a little queasy, I think I am my mind is really getting to that Mitchell Robinson spot. And that exact, he is such, I don't know if floor raiser is the right word because he also raises their ceiling, but he solidifies things for them in such a way. The offensive rebounding on one end and the defense on the other just gives you a baseline of being very good, almost regardless of how you're shooting on a specific night. And it's how they had the third best offense in the NBA a couple years ago when they had no business based on their shot profile and how well they shot, having the third best offense. That is what Mitchell Robinson in part can do for you. And that guy is not there right now. Maybe he emerges before the All-Star break, but I think it's absolutely essential. So I think that is a great point. And that's unless you have a response, that's how I'm content to kind of wrap this one up.
No, I just have a quick word on that. I mean, Ivica Zubac would be amazing. I think that it's probably unrealistic just given the competition for his services. If the Clippers put him out on the market, I think anybody would want Ivica Zubac. Yeah. I'm looking at a much lower level, the other Clippers 5 that they have on the roster that would potentially give the Knicks a more unique look, not the Mitchell Robinson look, but Brook Lopez, who will be a much more gettable at a much lower cost, doesn't even seem to have a role over there at this point in time. So that's a guy you could get, a guy you could have space the floor with Cat, could still protect the rim a little bit. So not the level of Zubac, but just something to think about. And yeah, I'd love to talk with you later about all of the variety of options the Knicks could have as far as acquiring another 5.
Yeah, again, I said it, this is a 2-part episode. We have so much we wanted to get to, but maybe we'll circle back next week. Until then, he's XJ, I'm Gavin. Tune in tomorrow where we'll be recapping the NBA Cup for you. Knicks, Raptors, RJ Barrett's out. That's a real bummer. I wanted to see him on the stage against the Knicks. I think Emmanuel Quickly is going to try to score 50, though. We'll have it for you then. But until then, we'll talk to you soon on Locked On Knicks.